Okay. All right. In the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful, in honor of the original unconditional moment that all conditional moments have arisen from and will return. In the honor of the system admin, the system administrator of this existential system in the world host beyond the world. All right, folks. Some unique and interesting changes happening with this channel the next days. However, I wanted to give this moment life and speak about, I guess, my next um, inner assignment, inner realm assignment. This lecture has a research component, and the last two lectures I talked about this topic. I'm going to keep talking about this topic. Very simply, to bring the viewers to the checkpoint that I'm at. I'm this human being, a member of a human species in human civilization that is considered to be 300,000 years old. It is estimated there has been around 117 billion humans that have existed. 8.1 billion of them are alive. I am one of the biological original human beings, still fully natural and biological, and still living in a natural world, but living in it unnaturally. I'm a human being in the year 2026. It's March 27th to So, pretty much in the time that I've been alive, I've had shifts on what the context of reality is. And as someone who was conditioned to believe that he's an object and that he's actually the subject moving that object that nobody else sees. It occurred to me that in 2026, people living as if the idea of them owns their moment. They're possessed by their subjective representation. 117 billion humans means 117 billion different approaches to living on Earth, different circumstances, different positions. And so it has occurred to me after all this time that we have been living on one side of the coin, and so our known life is a subjectively possessed object, but our unknown life is where the real deal is. And so you're hearing and listening, I guess, for the first time in human history, I guess for this era, this notion that we are not human beings. And I am saying you're not the body in the not in the traditional sense that you're not an object. That in actuality, we have been wondering and searching for what is that healthy state of mind. And it's coming back, it's doing an archaic revival of coming back to the ancient notion that back in the day, our ancestors who saw a world filled with soul, they in some sense acknowledged that the soul is in, they did not only acknowledge levels to this, right? Think of it this way: basic level objects, secondary level subjects, third level, what is experiencing the object and subject at the same time. So, in other words, in ancient traditions, mystical traditions, they had this notion of not only your soul, there you are a soul in a vehicle of a body, but your soul can go outside of this body. And they even had this view that the healthiest way to function as a human being is for the soul not to be directly in the body, but to be a bit outside of the body. This is not a common thing for me to say, but I will tell you. I'm not here to prove to you that you're a soul, okay? That is something you need to do for yourself. To notice the unknown variables in your life and ask what is living through them, not just the known variables you identify. So, as a futurist, I speak to the future great potential of humanity, accessible directly now, activatable now. Unknown forces accessing instances of humanity. You're listening to a human being saying that all of us this whole time we have thought we're humans on Earth and we didn't know, we don't know what to do, we don't know where we are, and it's all very confusing and at the same time mysterious. Yet, how do we, in some sense, respond to, in some sense, the chaos of an unknown world with the fascination for order? Order means there's something intelligent going on, chaos means it's not intelligent. And it's a conviction of your own being. If you believe you're in a more chaotic moment than an ordered, there's so many archetypes going about. Every human being is like a system that is implementing a strategy, but also that system is an element in a greater system. And so this all leads to what? To this human being saying that you are an unknown, intelligent space of a field space of a field that is responsible for an instance of the human species. That means, have you heard that expression? Don't take things seriously. We have taken existence so seriously. We have forgotten the mysteries, the depths, the roots of our direct experience of it. Ladies and gentlemen, you are everything you know is in a position, and what moves it is unknown. The verb is an unknown life, the noun is a known life. We have organized everything into nouns. We wear ourselves as armor, not realizing that intelligence is present beyond them. So, what does this mean? It means I'm making the argument and making the claim that in the same moment that I have access to this view, that I'm a member, a human on Earth, and I'm living my human life in this, humanized Earth world. I'm saying no. I'm saying it took me a while to realize that my inner life is not my outer life. It is an engagement. It's as if, think of it this way. I said it poetically in one earlier talks, that the human being, is the child of Mother Earth and Father Sky. What does that mean? That means we are not of one intelligent access. In other words, I know that for viewers who believe they are the idea of themselves, this is not going to be an easy talk to listen to. But where else will you? When else can you hear a talk like this? Everybody here is convinced it's known. Everybody here is convinced we're on Earth. Everybody here is convinced we're in the Milky Way galaxy. Everybody is convinced they are their name. Everybody is convinced they are their story, not realizing in the middle of simulations dancing, we're choosing to sit on a chair of confirmation. Like, what is that? It to me, it was the biggest realization of my life. And my name is Amin, right? So I was like, Amin, what are you doing here? And I laughed because I realized, which self am I? How many versions of me have existed? How many different ways of myself have I experienced? And how have I been convinced that one mode is all modes? And how terrifying is that? Ultimately, it comes down to the presence of intelligence at all, where your heart is leading you beyond what your mind knows. The greatest quality of human beings was that they contacted the unknown and still went forth. There was a foolish playfulness which was remarkably expressive. It's taken me 34 years to be like, whoa, I thought I was a person this whole time. But I am an unknown presence where I find a human body in it. And this human body belongs to the species. And this is the superior spirituality of the future generations, that they are not identifying with what is found in their moment only. Imagine there's a box on your head, and you've been identifying with that darkness your whole life, and you're scared that if you take off the box, all the other people with boxes on their head are going to give you the finger. And you know, it takes some time to realize the hardest thing for a fool is to realize that it is. I know that everybody here knows that they're here for some time and they're attending this event. Okay? And we've personalized this event of life to the degree that we think we are it, in the same way that if I'm sitting in a car and I've been sitting in this car for so long, man, that at some point I identify as the car, or Tony Stark identifies as Iron Man. Pepper comes to Tony Stark. Tony! It's like, I'm not Tony anymore. I changed my first name to Iron and my last name to Man. You know, I'm Iron Man now. It's like that's when Thor's hammer breaks the Iron Man suit, and Tony realizes that he's Tony. Do you understand? And humanity will realize it is the force responsible for its species. What does that mean? I can tell the power level of every soul here. I can tell the power levels. You know, just like Dragon Ball Z, I can tell you the power levels. I can tell you that it is different being thinking you're powerful and then being present in the power that moves the world. There's a difference. Okay, one is claiming it from a lost inner realm that only it sees. The other has realized the cost of accessing the real earth is to let go of the meaning that caged it in a certain way. What I'm saying is, like, it is so ahead of its time that it kind of scares me. I also, I'm saying it so casually, you know, that we are an unknown moment of being intelligence, and we find an instance, one instance of the film of the human species at our access. You understand? That means you think that being human, the story ends from, yeah, you're just a human. That's it. You know, you're a human in some place. No, it takes perhaps a lifetime, or if you live really fast, maybe half a lifetime to realize that you have been given the task and the power level of every soul is to be responsible for an instant. That means the species is a film, yet you're responsible for a frame. Do you understand where in history we are located? Where in existence we're located? There is nothing normal about everything people are accepting as normal. It is actually chaos. And it's as if like we're reaching that point where we're wondering if our universe is safe. To me, I'll tell you, I have witnessed human beings. That's the point of being human. You get to see the human. And it's so funny how it's designed because you don't get to see yourself from a third person perspective. Like when I look at someone, I can't see exactly how they're looking at me. You understand? I don't have access to their inner realms. You understand? And the system is designed not to be selfish. You know why? You know why we weren't designed to be selfish? Because our eyes were not outside of ourselves. They started from our face, first person perspective. You were convinced. The moment you opened your biological eyes, how could you not be this? Consciousness is starting from a face that sees two hands in front of it. Only if you reach for the sky and you look up, you see your hand. What is the true reach of who we are? And so we've reached that point in the Mr. Within talks where what is remarkable is I think one fourth of these talks were in some sense me giving lectures to the humans. And now I am moving to the dehumanized sectors. I see why reality wants me to make this private to some degree. I'm reaching that point in my work where I need to acknowledge all the dehumanized values that we separate ourselves to remain human. Okay, we're reaching that point. I have said this many times. I will say it again. And honestly, who am I kidding? Let me be very real with you. A part of me is incredibly bored with existence. In 2024, I was crossing the street when I was living in Dubai and I got hit by a car. If I was two steps ahead, I got hit by a green BMW. If I was two steps ahead, I would have been done. I went to the hospital in my mind praying I could play sports again, and miraculously nothing was broken, just scars of blood. Okay. Afterwards, for 2 weeks, when I would sleep, I would jolt from the bed. Right when I would put my head down on the pillow, I would see the car not stopping. Okay. After some time, I began asking myself, why am I still here? Because as much as I am providing a service for the human species and myself as well, to in some sense give these lectures, and for them to be briefings from the raw, hopefully from the rawest nature of man. You're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. What do we do before we die? And that has to do with our value systems aligning to the greatest vision and strategy. Life is about the advanced human strategy. That is my purpose. To keep a door open until, do you know what it is, what it has been like? And how would you, my life, deep down, the feeling that has guided me has been equivalent to someone holding doors open. And now realizing, I've reached this point where I'm realizing, break the doors. I have had numerous people come up to me and say, why do you give pearls to swine? And it breaks a part of it. Because if I give billions of pearls, it would not be enough. And we're not stored. We're not just an animal, encaged by its environment. And in some sense, there will come that moment and for every soul. I don't care who you are. I don't care about your ability levels. I don't care how you even see yourself if you look down or look upon yourself. There will come a time where you will ask yourself, why am I being energy? Why am I here? Whose responsibility is the context behind every concept that I have identified with? Do you know? And in some sense, if I don't get to see what it was all about, what was the point of it? You don't realize to be human is like they've given access to to one if they're testing to see if you can be responsible for one human. And those people who have started families, good job. You've passed level one. You're responsible for more than one human. And for those people who go and become, let's say, leaders of humanity, good job. You've gone up another level. You're responsible for groups of humans. But then you go up to the level we are all waiting. That means if there is any, I don't care good or evil, leaders in power in the realm, to all leadership archetypes, to all souls assigned to some sort of decision making that influences groups and masses of people. I don't care if you're a streamer, like young kid streamer with millions of followers, with let's say a multi-million followers, or if you're a politician with billions are watching, I am telling you, ask yourself, how far has the journey of your identity gone? The responsibility, it's all the game of responsibility levels. It took me a while to understand that the most respected are the most responsible. But why? Because they have seen the value of greater realms. To me, again, I don't care what kind of world leader you are. When will it dawn upon you that it is one species on earth? And any politician right now listening to me, you will make history. You will become the greatest politician in history if you just realize it is one species on earth, and our true identity is not with a chunk of colored land. It is with what we see in the mirror, the presence of a human. The most important values in this world right now is the human experience of existence. The quality of that experience suggests your destiny. The question has to be asked in a power hungry world. You're all starving for power, right? Everybody wants to have more control in their life, right? Controlling what? A changing world? How demented can we become? To become owners of a changing world? The Pharaoh was the example. The Pharaoh of ancient Egypt is one of the greatest examples of the flaws of the ego. I don't know if many people know this, but in the Holy Quran, there is a vast amount of the Holy Quran that is dedicated to Moses, Prophet Moses, peace be upon him. You have the Pharaoh. From one angle, the modern people look at it and they're like, yo, the Pharaoh wanted to take his whole kingdom into the afterlife. What a flawed person. He thought he can take his value here to the other side. But your value in the other side is only based on how much you notice the other side while you were here. Prophet Moses had a direct line of contact with God, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the unconditional original being, the system head of all reality. Prophet Moses, he had leprosy, I think, some sort of skin disease. He goes to, I'm a visual learner, I'm saying to you visual now. Prophet Moses says to God, God, send my brother Aaron. I have a bad reputation with the Pharaoh, and I also have a leprosy disease. And God says the one of the most incredible things to Prophet Moses, and says, "You both, you and your brother, go." Prophet Moses and Prophet Aaron, peace be upon them both, they both go there. And people would be like, "Is Prophet Aaron, is the brother of Moses God?" Excuse me, what did I just say? Sorry. Is the brother of Moses the prophet? Delete that last sentence I said. Wrong word. So Prophet Aaron and Prophet Moses, they go to the Pharaoh and they tell the Pharaoh that God is beyond. The Pharaoh gathers around all the magicians of the time and they come and do this illusion of snakes. And then God commands directly, the system admin commands Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, to throw his staff. He throws his staff literally transforms into a snake, an actual snake, and devours only something a system admin. And it is said that all the magicians were the first to convert, were the first to realize. Convert to what? To realize that there is a higher power, there is a higher order process beyond what the simulated free will can manipulate. And yet the Pharaoh's still not convinced because the ego cannot let go of its world. Because what would it be? The Pharaoh is the algorithm of the ego's demise and the ego's inability to understand that beyond this room is not the ego, not just the ego. I am telling you, what do we do when the whole species realizes there are unknown forces being responsible? That means, like, there's two views here, guys. One, we are the human species. Two, we are this unknown intelligence. And from the beginning, it was an unknown place, an unknown world, and we are unknown selves. And we've in some sense have lived as ideas for so long that we have forgotten that beyond the subjective meaning we give to objects, there is the presence of an awareness beyond both. What is the true mind of the species? Why have you come to attend this realm? I ask you not even in the sense that I know that you have had a creator. I know that all souls are source code commands. I know that when a person goes looking for their soul, it's like they're trying to look for how an original gift command would come into existence. And it is beyond the jurisdiction of man because it is the presence of the unseen force. One thing that is said in the Holy Quran, at the beginning, is that this is a book for those who believe in the unseen, because the consciousness of the knew, or how would I say, the divine intervention, knew that in some sense there will come a time where man will choose the easy way. And just like how, think of it this way, for decisions, it's been a deception this whole time in regards to if something is hard or easy. It's been bullshit. There's no such thing as hard and easy. Something could be hard and easy at first. That means if let's say if you realize there's a short term sideways. Okay, and so we have to realize it's like we're waving here. And so, with wavering dedication to realizing what we truly are, we must also have the capacity to acknowledge how truth may be humanized. In other words, God is not limited to a human form. Even in Christianity, you have archetype of God the Father. And so, why is this important? Because Christ was not there worshiping himself. He was not worshiping. He was not talking to himself. He was talking to the creator of the world. He was talking to that which he commanded the Holy Spirit to, in some sense, find Mary. You understand? So the realm is in a sort of layered constitution of having a significance. In other words, just like what you tune into. If you think you're an object, you can access. If you believe you're an object, you can access objective reality. If you believe you're a subject, you can communicate subjective reality. You can access subjective reality. Only if you believe you are more can you access it. The secret, which is not a secret, really, it's just we haven't paid attention, is that truth is accessed. It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. It's destiny. No problem. No problem. Sorry, guys. Just very old lady slammed her car door into mine. Nothing matters as much as where it's all going, right? And I'm here wondering what strategy 8.1 billion human beings are implementing. And what would life be if we realize we're the intelligence that moves the human and we can choose to identify as the human, but we're not the human? What did Saint Francis of Assisi mean when he said to be in the world and not of it? I am in the world as a human, but is my awareness limited to just the human identity? When it comes to the study of beings, I'm a sci-fi writer. I know these things. So when you look at the classes of beings, let's start with you have something that is lesser than human. Okay, let's say you have animals. I'm not going to go through them, but I'm going to say this. You have animals, and then you have demi-human. Okay, demi-human means between human and animal. This is the archetype of an entity. Imagine like like in Chinese mythology, they have what is it that like this nine-tailed fox being that's like this woman and a fox infused. That's like a demi-human archetype. Or when you see like all these people playing cosplay, or all these young women wearing like cat ears, or like animal ears and all that. Right? That is a demi-human. That's actually a de-evolution into a demi-human super psychology. You know what I mean? Now we had human, and then we had demi God. We had human, and we had God, and we had in between demi. Okay? And this meant, in some sense, like again, the human was seen as just like how it was recently. We had demi human, now we have demi God, which means, in some sense, you are like this higher being that is identified with human. Okay, and then you have just God, which is the higher being. So the demi-humans, you have had various accounts of them in human history. Okay, and in human history, in different cultures, there has been recordings of an account of a transcendental war, a war between humans and demi-humans. That means the humans had to protect their kingdom, from, in some sense, the lower kingdoms. But there was also where the human kingdom choose to rebel against the hierarchy. So in Vedas, it's the devas were asuras. Zoroastrianism has another version of it. Okay. To me, I simplify. I see myself as a user. I see the demi-human archetypes as gods. In other words, archangels or shaitan. These are moderators. They are created beings, and they are not the. So when we look at this modern time, all these other classes of beings have been pushed into fiction. What you have actually seen happen is, from one view, they explain it, they're like, from the Big Bang, everything's become more complex. The world is behaving through complexity. Look at yourself. How much more of a complex being are you than when you were young? Right? So it's like everything's moving into complexity, but we want a simple freedom. Why do complex beings seek a simple freedom? This could be the title for this lecture. You're right. Why do complex beings seek simple sentence? All right, I have to. Folks, I am not a teacher. I am a bewildered explorer, okay? And I am realizing this whole time, all of us have been acting as if we know this world. And we have been living through this collective hallucination. But in reality, we don't know. Back to the drawing boards. They're like, yo, man, are you reinventing the wheel? I'm like, yeah, man, you know why? I'm, because you might have missed something. You might have missed something in your invention. I honor all inventors in my field. It was divided between being a soccer player when I was super young. My parents would testify. It was between being a soccer player and being an inventor. These two ideas were the coolest things. Young, you know, and the people don't know this. I think I was even younger than I was years old. You know, I made when I was so young. I took three Q-tips, divided folded them from the middle, right? Connected all their ends to like this horizontal cardboard plane, and then wrapped a string from the corner of one of them around all of them, and it attached a motor to that string. And anytime I would turn on that string, the three Q-tips would close like a robotic. And I remember all my cousins and relatives, all they were older, they'd come and I was showing that off, you know. And why was I drawn to that? Because it's like, think of it this way: there are some souls that the moment they see reality is also the moment they get bored. Boredom is like a strange, like, you know, guide. I have been guided by boredom to the most fascinating things I can tell. You know, and of course, on some level, every person's intelligent. If you see any sort of successful intelligence expression, their confidence is coming from presence. So if somebody asks me, how do you know what to do? Or how do you know what to say? Very easy. I've monopolized knowledge. You think I'm being present in a moment that I'm claiming all of it to be exactly what I see. I am standing as an unknown being. Deep down, the silence and stillness have told me who I am. There were times that I would just sit and I would realize it's not about meditation. It's not about just prayer. It is about realizing what you're in the presence of. And if you do not understand the strength of your heart, let me tell you this. If somebody tells me, Mr. Within, were you a brave soul? If you ask me, I will say for the longest time, no. I was, I was in some sense, how would I tell you? I hadn't even put my foot on the court. But let me tell you how things changed. There's this anime, Attack on Titan, Shingeki no Kyojin. I think it was in the third season. There was a character that somehow, I don't know, like, you know how when you see a film, some characters, you just like, you're more on their side than anyone else's side. You know, you just choose. Like, for example, I remember when we were kids, my when this was very young memory, you know, and I was like, I remember when Dragon Ball Z would show, like, I would always be, my attention would just be on Vegeta, and my brother would just focus on Goku, you know. So, anyways, in this show, Shingeki no Kyojin, which is a Japanese comic book made into a show, there's a character named Armin Artlet or something, right? And Armin Artlet is one of the most intelligent, smartest characters in the show, right? But he is scared, and his whole youth, the main character who was his best friend had to come and like save him, and he was, in some sense, so smart, right? That it was like he was maintaining his bravery through his intelligence. Okay, but in the show there comes a moment, okay, where this kind-hearted, intelligent soul suddenly sees the destiny, suddenly knows his destiny. He comes up with this ingenious strategy, right? And his friend Aaron, the protagonist of the show, looks at him and says, Armin, are you sure about this? And Armin looks at Aaron and says, for the first time in my life, look at his terminology. He's the story to you. He says, I feel courage flowing through. Courage arises not because you are a brave person and you know what happens. Courage arises when you have noticed something too important to ignore. Courage is when you realize the greater value of the moment. It flows through you because it's flowing through you to take you to that vision you see. It is not just about what can be lost. So many ways humans are being human. So many ways ideas are being beaten. Ultimately, you are all unknown forces. You log in, you're just moving. You're the Iron Man is making. So where I'm going with this is I'm saying pretty much we're not humans. We are responsible for our membership. The cost of being a member of the human species is the time of our lifetime. And so I'm just saying this to you, if the older generations can't hear me, and then I guess the younger generations will. Every soul that enters here, you have a choice to make. Do you want to fit into a simulated world, or do you want to live an original life that will be, a blessing upon? In other words, I expect the artists If this whole Mr. Within, I expect those who truly have witnessed the unknown, who are more convinced we're unknown beings than known beings. You know, that's the great rebellion. The power has been put in the hands of known beings. Knowledge has ruled man so long that man has forgotten there's a different sky beyond. There's a sky. What are the skies that await you? What are the great moments that await you? O mankind, O human species, why are you all here? And don't lie to yourselves. You identify with things in the same way. Why do people wear watches? Because it's not natural to remember time. It's natural to know when certain things happen at this when the sky changes color, but it is not natural to remember time in the same way. It's not natural to be a name. These are unnatural things. Time and our names are unnatural ways that nature is trying to behave. Okay, our nature is identified as unnatural, but unnatural matters to reality. That means think of it this way: there's people who are like, "Yo, man, you know, who's another person to come and tell me what to do?" Okay, and unfortunately, the species like, who's another reality to come and tell me what's real? So there's more, yo. There's more. And the whole point of it is two approaches, okay? Either we treat it as it's real, and anytime we find it out it's a simulation, our heart breaks, or we treat it as a simulation and try to reduce the percentage of how simulated we are. In other words, souls are like these original memories of an original life, and we yearn to return to the original world. To me, I'm like, yo, the human species has multiple strategies. It's there. And there's some people who are like Mr. Within, just love the world and that's enough. And I'm like, oh, really? And what about its design? It's like, yeah, man, your car broke down. Just love it and it'll work. You know, love is a distraction when there is work. In other words, your life should be what is the greatest way that energy can have. There's something liberating about that question. I said it in one talk, this concept that upon my personal inquiry of the realm, if somebody tells me what is the most valuable thing on earth that human beings are searching, and I will say a majority of the human being is convinced that it's money. But you know what is more valuable than money? Communication. Deep down, if you were, it doesn't matter what sort of status you had, it doesn't matter how much resources you had, you are waiting for the greater gain. Imagine right now you're the strongest person. Imagine you're the most alpha being in the realm. Imagine you're the most beta being in the realm. It doesn't matter what form at your hand, you are expecting novelty from the unknown. And it's like seldom is this said, the cost of our new life is our old life. What does that mean? That means if the alpha wants a new life, if the cost of the new life is it's being alpha. If there's a beta that wants a new life, the cost of it being beta is alpha. It has been an evolutionary progression. People have history was static. People taught history, as if it was a journal entry. It has been a film of beyond man's direction. So, in actuality, it's not 8.12 billion names. 8.1 billion unknown life forces that are moving, this known life form, moving a life form in a known way. This is a little bit dehumanized, but it is completely humanized. You understand? I have in my lectures created safe dehumanization. To be honest, think of it this way. My headquarters are the human. It's like I start from human headquarters. Worst case scenario in any sort of psychological instance of experience of it's a psychological instantaneous experience of reality. Do you understand? It is content in presence. It is like I'm sure I have a personality. But where is this personality happening? How is this personality happening? What is love truly? It is honor. No, there is no alpha male up there. There is no strong people. If we forget the greater value of it all, are we living for ourselves in our own moments, or are we living for the species in wonder? Would future generations live for all? What is greatness? That means, this is how you know this civilization 1.0 is unadvanced. It's because when one person becomes less, people laugh or feel good. They're like, yeah, man, rather than elevating all of us, it's the same thing, right? Like in some sense, there are people who, rather than when you have an argument with them, rather than advance the argument, they just reduce the argument. And they think that that feeling of reduction, because they reduced it, their mind. The majority of it is unknown. Even if I ask for proof, like it's kind of weird because I'm asking proof in a tiny pocket of a, in a tinier pocket of a tiny pocket of the observable universe. Right? It's weird. Everything starts off not making sense, and we seem to be, that processing mechanism that gives it sense. It's like we have never seen the world as it is. We have seen processed realities. Just like you go to the grocery store, you get processed food. Similarly, the brain is giving you processed reality. It is only the view of the that you are unknown that is the healthiest and healthiest. So, what do 8.1 billion unknown beings do with experiencing themselves as members of the human species? We rebuild civilization, reconstitute it to the ultimate value of human. That means the biggest thing under attack is not our physical bodies. It is the natural biological idea. It's like, what does it mean to be human? Anyways, folks, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the most advanced. From an original state, all has occurred, and to an original state it returns. Let us realize the original balance. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.